Welcome to the 5 Minutes with interview organized by the new profiling program Biodiverse Anthropocenes. Today we have Marko Mutanen, who's the leader of the program. Thank you for agreeing to be the first speaker.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting.
Yes. I see you have some samples and also for the community to show what your research is about. So my first question would be to talk about your research and maybe also show us what you brought with us.
I was bringing indeed some specimens with me, so just to support my introduction to my research. So my research is very much about about insects, but more generally about biodiversity. So that is what I have been very interested in for a long time. So my research always has been about the species. I have been collecting already as a school kid. I was already collecting insects. I was looking birds. I was also a bird watcher. So I have been always interested in species very much. Different kinds.
Yes,
and nature.
And what did you bring with you? What have you got?
Yeah, these are sawflies. So this is like a new area in my research. They are insects. It's relatively diverse group of insects. We have about 750 species in Finland, and it's a new thing to me. I used to be and to study butterflies and moths, but this is a new area. I have been focusing on this about 5 years. And I have found them extremely interesting because of many reasons. For example, that their diversity is not that well known, and there are also many interesting scientific questions to be addressed. They are, for example, extremely difficult to identify. There are quite many, but that's not the only thing. They are very alike as well.
Yes. And can you tell me how did you become interested in this new research?
Yeah, it's always very difficult to explain in detail why you are interested in something, but I have been always studying and interested very much how we could better understand the biodiversity, because we are really having bewildering diversity around us. So it's really lots of species, even here in the north, let alone to speak about the tropical forests. And the fact is also that we can read, we understand it very badly. In some areas we know species rather well. For example, the sawflies in Finland, they are comparatively well known compared to the diversity in the tropical forests, where in most insect groups, for example, majority of the species remain undescribed. So we have most of the species that we are having here in the planet stay or remain unnamed, undescribed for the science. So there is a lot to do, and it's a great challenge, and it's also very important if you want to protect and save as much as possible of our biodiversity. I think that all people understand that this is very important. We also need to be able to read, to identify its central units, species. And we also need the species and the names for the communication. So it's not possible to speak about the species and biodiversity if we don't have language for that.
Yeah.
And that's why we are naming the species.
Okay. That's really interesting. You were talking about today's challenges, and maybe you could also make that link to today's global challenges. So how would your research be relevant for today's global questions?
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges in today's world is this global scale biodiversity loss that we are facing. So depending on the area, some areas have saved better, but some areas the situation is really alarming. So species are lost. We are actually in the midst of the extinction wave. So very many species are going to the extinction, and very many species actually even before we knew them and we could name. So there are many species that are vanishing before we could name them, and will be going to the extinction, so that we never were aware of them at all. So it's a big challenge, and as species disappear, it's a challenge in many ways. So it's a challenge to the humanity, even because we are dependent on species and the biodiversity in so many ways. Of course, for example, that we are eating. So it's one thing that we are eating species. So almost all food that we are eating is made of species, and we are eating very many different kinds of species. But it's not only that. There are really lots of various kinds of connections, how we humans also are fully dependent on other species, and the other species are dependent on other species as well. So there are innumerous connections between the species. So a big challenge is that how we can save and protect this biodiversity so that it doesn't collapse totally, because at some point we are approaching this limit. At some point, it's not a disaster for the functionality of the nature if one or two species disappear. But if many species disappear, at some point it starts causing really big problems. And that is what we, of course, it's a big global scale challenge, and that we want to find also in this research program new solutions for that. And I want to find solutions also in my own research.
Yeah. And so this research program is really about biodiverse Anthropocenes. So I understand that it's an interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary program where scholars from different disciplines enter into dialogue. So maybe on a smaller scale, but still really relevant, the challenge would be to communicate your research to scholars from different disciplines. How would you go on about that?
Yeah. It's a challenge. I must say that traditionally I haven't been thinking that so much. I have had my I would say discipline-specific problems. I haven't been collaborating so much with the people or researchers with the other disciplines. But I very well realize it that if we want to find solutions to the global challenges, it's not only the biologists that we have to involve and engage. We need also humanists. It's so complex and so difficult problems that we are facing that we need to bring scholars from representing different disciplines together to find better solutions to the biodiversity crisis. So that is what we are now doing in this program.
Mm-hmm. Now, one last question on actually the title of the program. So biodiverse Anthropocenes in plural. Why are you using the plural in this case?
Yeah, okay. It is because this problem is so complicated. Exactly what I was speaking before. We should open our eyes to see that it's not just a single discipline that can find solutions for these global challenges. It's very much about this transdisciplinarity and this goal that we are having. We want to be many. We want to be many, and that is exactly why also this title is in plural. Many disciplines are needed to be brought together to find solutions to these global challenges.
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you very much, and thank you also for the sample. So that's it for today. We will welcome you next time to 5 Minutes With. Thank you.